Hello and welcome to A Writer's Muse. This game was made for Coffee Jam 2023 for itch.io. So if this is a game you want to check out, it will be in the description box below. You can have at it and show the creators some love. You know, they create this game, they need some love too. And while you're at it, I'm Voyia. I'm a variety game player. I take requests. So if you want me to play something, even if you are not subscribed, if you ask me to play something, I will 100% play it. Um, this game is about a writer and the barista who is more than he appears, and I am excited to get into it. So if you're excited to get into it, sit down, relax, and let's read about a writer's muse. It was a chilly autumn morning that day. Leaves were scattered along the sidewalk, and the sky frowned a dreary gray. The last signs of summer disappeared with the dulling of the red, yellow, and orange leaves on the sidewalk. I had yellow and orange backwards, excuse me. Like the sun being sucked away, shrinking away from the cold and making room for winter. Can we just say how nice it is for fall to be showing up? We've missed you, fall, and we can't wait for winter. Summer sucks. No one can convince me that summer is awesome. You can do everything you in your power to convince me. Ow, I hit my mic. That summer is awesome, and I will debunk it every time. Along for the something new. Something bright, something warm. The cold cut like a knife through my coat and slithered its way under my scarf. Even though I did not have any morning classes, I insisted on waking up early anyways. I thought that I could use the quiet of the sleeping town where I lived to write. But whenever I sat down somewhere, I put my frozen fingers to the keys. Nothing came. Forgive me if I'm hiccuping or anything like that. I'm having stomach issues, but also I'm suffering from a cold. I'm holding my throat while I'm reading because it burns when I talk. So forgive me. And I'm trying to make it where you guys can actually hear me and stuff without me smacking in your ear, because I know a lot of people say my mic be too loud and some people say my mic be too low. So I'm just trying to find that balance right now because I am doing something on a new computer. I needed inspiration, but despite the silence that filled the empty streets, my brain would not utter a word to fill it up. I crunched through the leaf-filled streets, clutching my bag and my scarf. I needed a change, and as I neared my usual morning coffee shop, I smelt something different. Cinnamon, hazelnut, and cocoa powder. I felt it. Warmth, comfort, and kindness. Something new. I stopped in my tracks and turned to where the smell permeated from. Excuse me. I was trying not to cough. A new coffee shop sat there, a block or so from the one I usually frequented. It was nestled in a cozy nook, pushed back a little further than the rest of the shops on the street. Warm amber light flooded from the wide windows, and the doors were invitingly propped open. The fragrant odor that had first captured my attention wafted out from the open doors into my nose. I swallowed hard. It was exactly what I had been looking for. Aww, a person that likes coffee. I love the smell of coffee, but I think I might be having some mild allergic reaction to coffee. And not just coffee, but peanuts as well. I don't know if the two have some kind of similarities or something, but lately when I eat peanuts, my lips itch. And when I drink coffee, I get dizzy, I get nauseous, I have like super panic attacks, and itchy all over. I don't know what that's about. I thought that was like something, maybe the coffee is not mixing well because I have anxiety disorder, so maybe the coffee isn't mixing well with that, or maybe the coffee isn't mixing with ADHD. I also have that too, so whichever one it's triggering something. A new place where I could warm my hands and hopefully resurrect my creative spirit. Stepping into the warmth of the coffee shop, I had not a second thought and doubt in my mind. I knew this was where I was meant to be. ... Opened the door. Inside the coffee shop was warm and bright. Let's look. It is kind of cozy. I like it. Tables filled the room, and it had cute wooden coffee bar stations at the back of it. See, now I giggle because the creator wrote that they was calling it a coffee bar because they didn't know if it was like called, let me see what they said. They said, I also apologize for the amount of times I wrote coffee bar. I had no idea what the little counter thingy is called, as well as the mini kitchen. Haha. So it made me giggle. That's why I was giggling. Because I do that too. I'll give something a different name instantly when I don't remember what it's called or something. I'll give it a different name instantly. Even though it was warm, the coffee was surprisingly empty. Where was everyone? It wasn't that early, was it? I looked at the fall decorations covering every table and surface. Pumpkins and leaves and acorns displayed just for the season. But despite the mass amount of fun seasonal decor, there was still no people. I stepped up to the coffee bar, leaning against the counter curiously. Hello. A head popped up and suddenly, from the other side of the counter, startling me. Tender yet piercing green eyes stared back at me, surprised by my sudden reaction. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. The guy laughed, and his shoulders instantly relaxed. It's alright. Oh, it was me. It's alright. I'm fine. The guy's long, messy brown hair fell into his face, and he tucked a strand of it behind his ears. He smelled like cinnamon and nutmeg, and he radiated the same warmth that had first drawn me into the shop. Oh, see, he is adorable. He is adorable, and I like his little, I don't know if that's his tongue out or maybe a scar, or maybe like he's got like coffee grinds on him or something, but it's cute. I think it's adorable. The apron he was wearing was wrinkled, and he pressed the wrinkles out before placing his delicate looking hands on the counter. The name tag was pinned to his apron is read Theo. Okay. What can I get for you? Ew. You came to a coffee shop for inspiration and your first thing was to get black coffee? I know they say the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. They said nothing about a darker the bean. Ew. Black coffee? Let me guess. You are tired, uninspired, and possibly depressed? Did I get it all right? Well, technically we are tired. We are looking for inspiration, so we're uninspired. And I guess not having your inspiration for your work can be a little depressing. So I'm gonna say yeah. Knew it. No offense, of course. He punched my order into the register and I handed him the money, excuse me. I'll have it served up in a moment. Thanks. The bright-eyed man retreated into the cafe mini kitchen and started rummaging through the cupboards, banging around cups and utensils as he went along. Despite his slightly rude remark, he was still very charming. Aw, he was a little charming. And it took me a few minutes to snap back into reality and find myself a seat in the shop. I picked up the table near one of the main windows that had a clear view of the cloudy sky and the street. Finally, I placed my laptop onto the table and opened it up. This had to be it. This had to be the place where I could finally write something. Placing my hands to the keys, I hover over them hoping for the spark of inspiration to order up. The grinning barista set a mug of fresh hot black coffee down on the table and beamed at me. The cup of coffee smelled wonderfully, whisking away my slight irritation and instead turning it into joy. Cracking a smile, I took a hold of the mug in my chilled hands, I took a sip and my mouth was instantly flooded with warmth and filling. It was bitter, just the way I like it. But there was something more, something different about it that I couldn't quite grasp, something wonderful. Theo made his way back behind the counter, and as he left, I again smelt the warm, homely scent. Is that what we're calling it now? that clung to his sweater. Is that what we're calling it now? Just say he smelled good. Just because you're a writer, you don't gotta make everything poetic and deep and something like that. Just say the guy smelled good. And you sniffed him as he walked by, and he's a cutie pie, so it's okay. It's fine. A burning feeling spread in my face and in my heart. See? You feeling that passion. Just say he smelled good. It's okay. Setting down the cup of coffee, I turned back to my laptop, fingers finally ready to type. I began. Tip, 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 tip. After a couple of hours of nonstop writing and a half dozen cups of coffee, I finally retracted my hands from the laptop and sat back in my chair. Staring back at me on my computer screen was several pages of unedited, real writing. I shook, possibly from sheer excitement or from the mass amount of caffeine I had just ingested. I had finally found it. At last, my inspiration. I looked over at the barista, Theo, who was still puttering around the mini kitchen. Surprisingly, no other customers had entered the shop in the hours since I had arrived, and so Theo looked to be trying to find anything in the kitchen that would keep him busy. Boy, I know we all can relate at the fact that we have been at work and we could not find nothing that kept us focused, and we was just we would sweep the windows if we could. We would sweep the windows. I stood up in a daze and walked over to the counter, hoping to share the great news with other human beings. Placing both hands on the counter, I peered behind it and into the mini coffee shop kitchen where Theo was now crouched. No, look at him. Oh, he's baking cookies. Or muffins? Muffins or cookies? He removed a piping hot cookie tray from the oven. Delicious looking cookies placed evenly in rows on the shiny surface. I stared in awe at the scene before me. Theo turned, noticing my eyes glued on the cookies. His surprised face turned to a small smile. Listen, after all that black coffee you probably drunk, a cookie would probably do you well. You want some? He taunted me by waving the baking tray around a little as he removed it from the oven. My eyes followed as he moved it back and forth. Yes. Theo stood up and set the tray of cookies over on one of the kitchen counters next to the oven. Almost forgetting completely about my accomplishment, I stood there patiently at the counter like a dog. I watched as he scraped the cookies one by one from the tray and pushed them onto the ceramic plate. Here you go. He placed the plate full of cookies down on the counter in front of me, and I stared on, mouth salivating. Now, you don't have to just stare at them, try some. He nudged the plate closer towards me, and I reached my hand out and grabbed one. And I ate them. They were delicious. I pushed one cookie after another into my mouth before Theo politely blocked my returning hand from mindlessly reaching for another. Okay. They may be good, but not that good. He tugged the plate over in front of himself, picked up a cookie near the edge of the plate, and bit into it. Dang, these are good. He set the half-eaten cookie back down onto the plate, and he pulled it back behind the counter. I'm going to have to make more of these. I stared at him in a daze. With the morning light filtering in from the windows and the orange overhead shop lights shining down on him, he practically glowed. I felt rejuvenated, invigorating. I felt like I, myself, was also glowing. I felt the urge to run, to sing, to dance, to write. I had found my inspiration. You know, when you find your inspiration, sometimes it could just make you feel real good. Like, don't lose your inspiration. Especially, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care A lot of people be like, oh, well, what I work on is like I make marbles, so that's not something to be inspired by. Look, it's your hobby. Be inspired. Do your thing. Turning back to the table and settling down at my laptop, I once again pressed my leaping fingers to the keys. I felt like I could write and write and write and write until my body grew heavy and I was forced into a sweet and artificial sleep. You fell asleep at a coffee shop? That's dangerous. I'm letting you know now. Look, personally, I'm too scary to fall asleep in public because I'm scared people would mess with me. Even if they didn't do me like physical harm, they might like try to play a prank on you and film it, and then I end up on some random, I don't know, YouTuber's weird show or whatever. But just me personally, I'm just like, I'm good. I'm not gonna go to sleep. You slept on. I'm sorry. Where are we? We're in the woods. Oh, see? This is why you don't go to sleep in public. Ugh. When I regained consciousness, it was dark and it was cold. I could hear the coos of birds and the chirps of crickets, forest sounds. As my eyes adjust to the darkness, I found that I was in the forest. How had I gotten here? My hands grasped wet mud and I pulled myself up with great effort. The forest sounds seemed to stretch on forever. I had seen the forest all the time. It surrounded our small town, but I had never noticed how big it was until I was now thrust into the evergreen expanse. I spun around and around trying to gather my bearings, but to no avail. Crunch. I heard something from somewhere, but where exactly? I felt like an animal, wide-eyed and terrified in the dark. I was frozen in place, listening, waiting. Crunch. Again, I heard it. It's closer. I spun to face where I believed the sound is coming from, but I saw nothing. Nothing except a dark shape moving along from the other dark shapes in the forest. I squinted. I'd have been crying by now. But it was already upon me. Shink? A gust of air blew through my messy hair, and something heavy hit the muddy ground next to me. I jumped back, terrified, and when the shadow figure turned its piercing green eyes towards me, oh man. I jumped back, terrified, and when the shadow figure turned its piercing green eyes toward into mine, it's sweet Jesus, what? He kidnapped me. Oh God, he drugged me. The coffee or the cookies drugged me. Theo stood there, slicked in a cold sweat that was illuminated by the moonlight now beginning to filter through the pines. In his hands he clutched an axe. The blade lodged into the mud where I had been only inches from seconds before. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me. This game does not tell me if there's multiple endings. It also did not tell me like if there was a way to get away. I'm thinking not. He grinned, a toothy, sly grin. Not the kind of soft, sweet smile he had previously flaunted. The sweet face that had been seen previously had now been invaded with a devilish glee. A joy that he now seems to be getting from my fear. He's just laughing at me. I don't even know what to do. Seeing the axe in his hand, I immediately took off running. Where are you going? Theo called after me in the darkness of the woods. I blindly ran, feeling my way through the darkness, trying not to run into the thick trunks of trees or into a thorny berry bush. Theo approached rapidly behind me, pushing through the shrubbery and stomping through the dark forest mud in his leather boots. What was he doing? Was he trying to kill me? Why? I grasped onto the trunks of the trees and I pulled myself forward through the darkness. Was I about to die? I weaved between a few wide pine trees, putting a good chunk of distance between me and him. I had to get away. I just had to get away from him. I hope she does get away. Just because you were trying to find inspiration, you ended up in the forest with a psychopath, with a cute psychopath, but a psychopath nonetheless. It just goes to show you, the cuter they are, the crazier they might be. I gotta be careful out here. Suddenly, my foot suddenly caught onto the root and I was catapulted face first into the muddy ground. I lay there, unmoving, and prayed that he would simply not see me and pass by. Crunch, 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 crunch. He neared. I didn't breathe. I could hear him. He was so close. There was nothing I could do. Crunch, crunch. Ugh. He yanked me up by my hair and out of the mud, face to face with the hunter who was just hours ago had been my inspiration. Oh my goodness, look at that. Yeah, he's crazy, girl. You dead. You can say bye-bye. Found you. He grinned. The scar on his lip curled as he pulled my head up. I writhed and wiggled, struggling against his seemingly iron grip. Did I not put enough stuff in those cookies or what? He tilted my head and peered into my wide eyes that were filled with terror. I don't know what to say, honey. You were so dead. And I'm so sorry. Ladies, let this be a lesson. Always let people know where you are. Carelessly tossed me back into the mud. He then stood over me. His now mighty axe was clasped in both his hands, the shining blade glittering under the layer of muck. He pulled it up over his head, ready to bring it down at moment's notice. Well, it's just too bad. Dying at the hands of your inspiration, the one you so dearly craved. Maybe that's a little ironic, maybe a little touching. I shook. I couldn't get up. I was terrified. But nonetheless, I'm glad to have been the only splash of sweetness in your dull, depressing life. He smiled. I screamed. The axe was brought down on my head again and again and again and again until all inspiration was ground out of my head and my blood pooled dark into the mud, almost like black coffee. The end. Thanks for playing. Thank you for making it. Thank you guys so much. Okay, that is it. Thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate it. I hope you guys had a fantastic time with me reading this. I enjoyed it. I hope your week is awesome. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace and love. Oh, and if you want me to play something, don't be afraid to ask. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Bye.